Today is day 8 for my Bonne Maman Advent Calendar. Let's see what's behind door number 8.
Counter cooking. No kitchen, no problem.
So here's number 8. It's right in the very center of the calendar. It says Dream Big Dreams. And we have peach jasmine flower spread. I wonder if this was in last year's calendar. This was day 7 in last year's calendar. So in 2022, this was in day 7. And this year it is in day 8. And last year I made a pork chop with it. I used it as a glaze on a pork chop. This is what it looks like. And I'm going to taste a little bit just to refresh my memory. It's like peach with some strong floral notes to it. Today I am attempting to make an apple and peach cobbler. So I have a small apple here and I also have this peach jasmine flower spread. I'll be using both of these. And I also have this little ramekin, which I'll be using also, and I'll be baking this in my Dash mini toaster oven. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab some butter and put some butter on the bottom of this ramekin. I'm going to butter the sides also a little bit, just in case things stick. I've never made this recipe before, so I'm hoping it comes out good. I've peeled the apple and now I'm cutting it into slices, and then I'm cutting the slices into like 3 pieces. The recipe says that I want about a half a cup of fruit. I think this is a little bit more than a half a cup of fruit. So I'm just going to eat some pieces until it's down to a half a cup. That looks like a half a cup. Now I'm adding the peach jasmine spread. I'm basically replacing the sugar that coats the fruit with the peach spread. So it's going to give it the sweetness that the sugar would have given it, and it's also going to give it some peach flavor. So the original recipe called for a half a cup of fruit. It actually called for peaches and then 1 tablespoon of sugar. So instead of the sugar, I'm using 1 ounce of the fruit spread, which is actually about 2 tablespoons of the fruit spread. Usually there's 2 tablespoons in an ounce. So here we have the apples with the peach fruit spread. If peaches were in season, I'd make this with peaches, but right now it's apple season, so that's why I'm making it with apples. And here's my little ramekin, so I'm just going to put the fruit in the ramekin. And I want to make sure I get as much of the fruit spread out of the bowl as I can. I don't want to leave any in there. So that looks really good. I just realized that I did this wrong because I was supposed to put 1 tablespoon of butter in the bottom of the ramekin and melt the butter in the ramekin and then put the fruit in the ramekin. So I think what I'm going to do is take the fruit out of the ramekin. I'll put it in this little bowl. I'll put the butter in there. I'll melt the butter, and then I'll put the fruit back into the ramekin, just so maybe the recipe will come out better. I'm only going to add a half of a tablespoon of butter. I feel like 1 tablespoon of butter is too much. I'm going to put it in my mini toaster oven and turn that on. While the butter is melting, in another small bowl, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of flour, 1 tablespoon of sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, a pinch of salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm literally just adding a few drops. This bottle is very messy. And it calls for 1 tablespoon of milk, but I don't have any milk in the house, so I'm using this heavy cream. I bought this little container of heavy cream to make these videos, and I've just been using it wherever any recipe calls for milk. So let's mix this together. This is supposed to be our cobbler batter. I might need to add a little bit more liquid to it. There was no egg in this cobbler batter. And I did cut this recipe down from what it originally was. So sometimes when you cut a recipe down, it it behaves a little bit differently. So I'm not sure if this is supposed to form a dough that I put on top, because right now this is forming a dough. Yeah, it's forming a nice dough. In the past, when I've made peach cobbler, it wasn't really a dough like this. It was more of like a batter. Okay, so not only did the butter melt, but it also browned, and that's because I wasn't watching it. I was making the dough. So let's put the fruit back in here. I don't think a little browning is going to have a bad effect on it. So there's the fruit back in the ramekin. So this is the batter or the dough that I have for this cobbler, and the original recipe just says to mix it until there's no lumps. And there isn't any lumps, so I'm just going to spread this out. And I'm going to put it on top of the fruit. The dough is really kind of sticky, so I just spread it out the best that I could, and I put it on top of the fruit. Now, since I'm using this Dash mini toaster oven, I need to cover this with foil, because this little toaster oven is notorious for burning anything that I put into it that I don't cover with foil. So I'm covering this. The ramekin is quite hot from when I melted the butter. So here's my mini toaster oven. Let's open this up. The original recipe calls for baking this at 350, but there are no temperature controls on this little oven, so I'm just gonna bake it. I'm gonna set the timer. I'm gonna set it for 15, and let's see what happens. It's been 15 minutes, and it smells really good. It smells like something really good is baking. Let's pull this out. Let's take a look at what's going on there. So it's starting to bake. It's definitely not done yet. The edges are browning, but the dough or the batter definitely needs more time. So I'm gonna put this in. I'll do another 15 minutes. The original recipe actually said to bake it for 30 minutes and then put it under a broiler for a few minutes. So we'll see how it looks after another 15 minutes, and then I might put it back in uncovered to put a little browning on the top. It's been another 11 minutes. I want to check on this because it smells like it's done. Like it's really aromatic right now. Let's open this up. And that's what's going on inside. That looks really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back in just for a few minutes without a cover. We have to remember that this toaster oven bakes at around 400 degrees, so it's a little bit hotter than a 350 degree oven. It's been a few minutes without a cover, and look at that. Look at that golden brown loveliness. So I'm going to take it out. And so that is the apple peach cobbler. I think it looks really good. I'm gonna let it cool off a little bit before I taste it. It's been about 15 minutes and I've let this cool down a little bit. I can't wait to taste it. When I think of peach cobbler, I immediately think that it needs like whipped cream on it, but I wanna taste this first and see how it came out. And I'm calling it peach cobbler because of the peach fruit spread in it. It's actually apple peach cobbler because I have apples in here. So the top has a really nice crust. Let's dig in. Look at that. Look at that. Does that look good? That is phenomenal. I have to say that. It's very buttery because of the butter on the bottom. The fruit is nice and soft. And the top came out crispy. Like it's crispy and like caramelized on top. I'm actually kind of surprised at how good this is. The topping actually tastes like a butter cookie. So imagine baked apples and peaches with butter cookie topping. That's how it tastes. Now I'm going to add my whipped cream. This is the brand of whipped cream that I usually pick up. It's Cabot Premium Natural Sweetened Light Whipped Cream. Tastes like homemade, and it has real cream, real vanilla and real sugar. It's much better than the most popular brands out there. Here's the cobbler with the whipped cream. Perfectly complements it. Obviously, if I had some vanilla ice cream, that would go really well on here also. But I'm very, very shocked at how easy this was to make and how delicious it is. Like, it's phenomenal. And so that's how easy it is to make an apple peach cobbler in this Dash mini toaster oven. Of course, this can also be made with many different types of fruit, but this is what I did with the fruit spread in my Bonne Maman Advent Calendar today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see what else we can make with the fruit spreads in the Bonne Maman Advent Calendar. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.